Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, Roshi Kwong.
This is a special day of celebration because we have a president-elect.
Yes.
And
Very
it's,
good.
it's really amazing that what we study about, it took me years to begin to connect it with my everyday life. And the ancient ideas or principles that we study, pertain to this very uncertain times. The five skandhas that the Buddha taught is how you envision your everyday life. What do you do in your everyday life? How do you live your everyday life? And also your view of the world, how you exist within the world as it is with Trump, with Biden, with all these things that are happening. And in the Dhammapada that we studied, Showaku Makusa, refraining from evil, was a very profound chapter in the Shobogenzo, very dense and deep. But just what he said, refraining from is the first, there's 4 lines in the Gata. Refraining from evil, carrying out good, and the third one, personally clarifying the mind. That is what we should do. That's our purpose in practice. That's our direction, clarifying the mind, personally clarifying my mind, your mind. And the last line is, this is what all the Buddhists taught. And actually, when we use the word Buddha, we forget that he was an awakened person. And when we use the word Buddhism, it's what Buddha taught is not an ism. In fact, you could say it's before an ism, because the ism is a belief system. And pure Buddha's teaching is not a belief system. You could say it's a non-belief system. So because it's zero, it can hold everything. The number 0 holds everything. So it's a very exciting time in the sense of opposites. And what we try to do in our life is when there's opposites, we try to do away with one so we can go get the other one. But we don't understand that the world of opposites is how the cosmos manifests and unfolds itself. These are the principles of the universe. So I've been reading Joshu Sasaki Roshi's little book about the Tathagata Zen, and it's printed by Rinzai Ji. He was a Rinzai Zen master, probably one of the oldest Zen master to live to maybe it was 107. And we had the chance to visit him a few times when he went to Cobb Mountain. And it's interesting, Sasaki Roshi came here in the 60s from Japan, and he, the only thing that I remember him writing was a little article in some kind of in the 60s newsletter, something about Buddhist gravity. And in those times, there were just a lot of revolution and things happening. And then after probably at least 50 years of practice, he didn't write anything. But the students noticed that underneath his bed was a little box with these small scribbly kanji symbols that he would have underneath his bed. And then one day, the students, this is over a period of a long time, student asked him, what happened to the box of notes that were inside? And Roshi looked at him and he said, I burned them. this is, and I don't know how old he was then. Maybe he was over 100 or near 100. I mean, you can imagine Rinzai Doksan is quite different than Soto Zen Doksan. On the way, when you go into the Doksan room, he can hear your feet and how you are walking. He can say, you're finished or please come in. So he's did thousands and thousands upon Doksans. Who knows? Teishos, same. And I remember going to Cobb Mountain that we had a chance to hear him give his Teisho. And he would come in when it was lecture and he would finally take his seat on a very precarious walk up to the altar, and he would finally sit down and he would lecture, standard Teisho lecture on koan. And this is Rinzai's method. As unanswerable questions that you can't logically, or you can't use your conceptual mind to unravel its answer. And so the next time we went, we thought that, I thought that he would give another lecture on something else, but it was the same koan. And what I heard that he lectured on the same koan for a long time. And there's not many people who can do that, to say this, oh, well, you can't say the same thing, but it's about the same subject over and over and over again. And when I'm thinking about it, as of now, it's not the same. It's the same subject, but the time he's giving it is not the same. So this brings out the world of impermanency. Everything is changing. And we are living in the time of uncertainty, which is impermanency. Actually, I think that we have been sheltered by technology, that we are the masters of the world and our planet. But little by little, we're being proved wrong. So in Dogen's time, in Buddha's time, there was war. There was the epidemic. There were stacks of corpses lined up on the river where Dogen lived. There were floods. There were fires. So the time of uncertainty, or the time of impermanency, was Buddha's first noble truth. Life is impermanent. So especially over the 20th century, we've created a life of permanence, a permanent life. And we foolishly think that we control the universe, we control our planet. But everything now is like coming into our face. So this word impermanent has been in my mind for a long time. And how does impermanency relate to our practice? So if our practice is pretty good, I mean in the sense that we know what we're doing, well, what is our practice? What do you do actually? So like the history, dhyana, it was the ancient times in India, even before Buddha, dhyana. And that was what in his book, the Tathagata Zen, calls one-sided Zen. And I remember using that that word dhyana, and I didn't really understand its meaning. And actually, it was a spiritual legacy of the Aryans, who were the Aboriginal people of India. And the idea was that they understood and used this religious technique as a kind of spiritual cultivation. It was, you learned it through meditation and the practice of meditation and application. But even so, it is one-sided. The dhyana just focused on a point. It's like, I guess like samadhi, not yet, but focus on one single point where the mind becomes calm. But that's not what Zen Zazen is about. Focusing on one point where the mind is focused. The activity of the mind is not scattered, but is focused on one point. And during that time, they even taught it to their slaves, that they knew how to do this. I read this paragraph and comment with you. Dhyana is a word translated into Chinese as undisturbed cogitation. The mind is quiet. So even dhyana, if one only trains in concentrating the scattered mind condition into a single point, this would not be the equivalent of training to bring the self to completion. This is not our way. So you have to think about it. This is not Zen's way. This is not completion of the self. If training consists only of single-pointed concentration, then this would be a one-sided cultivation method. Why is this? Because it would restrain the activity of the scattering mind. Since even the scattered mind is an activity of the mind, we don't want to get rid of it. We don't want to get rid of anything. Since even the scattered mind is an activity of the mind, one also has to begin to learn the activity of the scattered mind. We're not trying to get rid of it. That is the activity of the distracted mind. In other words, the condition of the mind concentrated in a single point we need to use it. We don't try to get rid of it. We need to use it. We need to be aware of it when we're sitting. That my mind is scattering. So it is. It's not bad. Perfection is accepting the scattered mind, not trying to get rid of it. In other words, the condition of the mind concentrated in a single point, the activity, when that is happening, you need to reverse it. You need to put it in reverse, in the opposite direction of an activity which is characterized by scattering. It is precisely by learning and practicing. Learning is the zazen. is the before thinking. Learning and practicing is the application of what you have learned during sitting. You have to apply it. And practicing this way is the complete range of the activity of the mind can be understood. Because such a dynamic meaning was needed for true dhyana, and because of the original one-sided dhyana had to be called simply dhyana. And this is the beginning introduction of Tathagata. Tathagata Zen is about the opposites. And what do I want to say something about? About the opposites. So Tathagata, in Japanese, it's nyorai. Nyo means just as it is, just as you are. This is the essence of you, just as you are. And rai means come, just as you are, come forward. Nyorai. And Tathagata is the accumulation. I'm sorry, Tathagata is the same thing. The suchness within you comes forward or has arrived. And then when you say Tata agata, with the two A's in between, means that it means thus coming, Tathagata, nyorai, thus going, Tathagata. So these two opposites are the activity of impermanency. And that's why the opposites, which people are not used to, is the dark and the light. You could say the light and the dark, the long and the short, the good and the bad. Anything that is the opposites is the activity of the cosmos. And our activity as human beings to clarify the mind is to dissolve the differences in zazen. So it's not one-pointed, it's dissolving the differences as you sit. This is what happens when you sit. And the opposites are held by your small mind, the thinking mind. But once that is, it means it's dissolved, your thinking mind of who you think you are dissolves. And when that self-centeredness dissolves, then you have arrived at seeing things impartially. That's the freedom in Zen. And it's anchored into impermanency. So let me read this thing, how he discovers sometime, like in Siddhartha's case, when the young Siddhartha lived in the palace, everything was wonderful for him. He was a nobility class. He was wealthy. He could do as he pleased. He was married. He has a child. It's until he went outside the walls of the palace that he saw suffering, death, sickness. Those things that we actually, it just mirrors much of our regular 20th century life. We saw the good part of life, the light, the part that everyone sees in the light, but we don't understand what's behind the light or what's within the light. Is there's a darkness, but the darkness in this sense is not bad. Dark does not mean bad, but it includes, it's part of the opposites. So in Buddha's time, he knew he had a resolve after that to do something, but he knew he couldn't stay in the palace like we're living in. He had to experience something outside the palace. He had to experience impermanency. So maybe for me, it was when I was in a car accident. That's a sense of impermanency. Or when I had cancer, that's a sense of impermanency. But you have to experience and know that part, and that's exactly what the young Siddhartha did after he went out on a 6-year resolve and search, that he found out that impermanency is the real life. In other words, the uncertainty times that we live at this point, we should know how to navigate ourselves in our life, because this was Buddha's first noble truth. Life is impermanent. And if we don't understand this uncertainty, if we're not settled from our practice of Zazen and its application, we will suffer. And that's what makes people so anxious and emotional and sad. So when let me continue to read about this the Tathagata, because that's actually there's not much time. Maybe next time I could say about the Tathagata, but this coming and going means the same thing as the opposites, light and dark. And when we're sitting in Zazen, as I mentioned many times before, like the 5 skandhas, which are form, the matter of form, sensation, perception, discrimination or will, and then consciousness. When those 5 skandhas interact, they create the fallacious self. So in Zazen, in our Zazen experience and practice, these are suspended. They are not reacting to each other. And also, let's see, behind the screen is, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, here it is. This is this kanji for Japanese and Chinese. This is the Heart Sutra. And the first few sentences, you recall un go. And this means 5. Oh, go. I'm sorry. I have it backwards. It's go un. Go is 5 and un is bundle. And I found that very interesting, because I had all these years, I hadn't really thought that much about skandhas, but skandhas is the vital part of the Heart Sutra and Buddhist teaching, Buddhist Tathagata teaching. And so when the 5 skandhas is just mentioning, that means the 5 aggregates, which creates the fallacious self, okay? And there is within the 5 skandhas a little bundle that comes with it. And actually, we always think of one thing doesn't include the other or negates the other, but actually the two exist. Like in the Sandokai, when there is a darkness, when there is light, there's darkness, but don't try to look for it. There's a little darkness, and within darkness, there's a little light, but don't try to understand it. So the same way with our pistachio tree, that we planted over 40 years ago, there's right now, it's orange and brilliant red. And but there's still a few light green leaves. And when they finally fall off through the seasons, in the winter, it goes back to it's naked, and all you see is the remaining branches. But then, and when the springtime comes, the green leaves start to grow back very slowly, just like a drop of water. But each drop begins growing and manifesting. And later on, you have a full green tree. But I also noticed that there was a little red leaf. It's the darkness is in the light. It's there, but we just don't notice it. We just see the green. Okay? So that's the wondrous part about it. Meaning we don't try to get rid of the chaotic mind or the scattered mind or the confused mind, but we're aware of it and we dance with it. We reverse it and use it like judo. When someone advances, when the so-called opponent advances to you, you dance, you welcome the advance. You don't see someone coming that's going to get you, but you become part of the dance and you invite him or her to dance with you, and as you dance, you throw the person with their own movement, not with your movement, but with how the person is advancing towards you. And so with the scattered mind, you use it. You don't try to get rid of it. You use it in the dance. And as far as impermanence, Sasaki Roshi, he quotes it. He quotes it when we refer to it. He quotes it as the standpoint of the source, impermanency. Kongen no tachipa means that your experiences is grounded completely in the activity of impermanence. Which is the underlying activity of the cosmos and of consciousness. So that's why Zen uses the word as it is, as they are, the instant of the moment before the present. All those phrases is grounded into the world of impermanency. Pretty good, huh? It's all in our zazen and how you clarify the mind. That's our social engagement before you go out. That is the world in crisis. I mean, it's pretty fantastic. So you know, of course, I mean, we feel the suffering. It's not that we're removed from the suffering, but we feel the suffering, and this is what we do: clarify the mind. And so you can help people in that way. You have to clarify the mind, not just to help people, but even for your own, the end of your life. Whatever you do, you have to clarify the mind. That's mandatory. That's essential to becoming an adult. So he wrote in the beginning, like, and maybe this is good to repeat, because there's an audience out there that also doesn't know what Zen is. And he asked the question, Sasaki Roshi, what is Zen? Good question. And since you understand through explanations that have been presented to you, as a Zen practitioner, as a Zen practitioner, you should know that Zen is the manifestation of an activity that negates the incomplete self, the fallacious self, the ego, and cultivates the complete self, which is a not down, no ego, no self-centeredness. That's Zen. And through this process of not just dhyana, you have to ask, what are you doing when you're sitting? Dhyana, one-sided Zen, or Zen, Tathagata sitting, including the opposites and having them reverse their direction and having them, what would you call it, merge, the merging of the opposites, becoming one. The dualism, the dichotomy of all things become one. And with that oneness, that at that point, that's in touch with the solid foundation of impermanency. So today is a very happy day, and I was really moved, actually emotional, that Biden won presidency. And within this dark 4 years, there's a light, and now it's reversed. So it's a great celebration, and also people are in the streets jumping and dancing and honking their horns and waving their flags, and the cyclone wall that the White House put up around the White House, it reminds me of the Berlin Wall. On the free side, they drew paintings and put toilets up on the wall and all kinds of things. And on this wall, it's unscalable wire wall from the White House. They put papers and they put figures looking at the White House, and it's just fantastic. The good, something about humanity, whether you're spiritual or not, it doesn't matter, but there's a goodness in humanity. And it's true, because like the Holocaust, it finally was reversed. The goodness came out of that. In other words, we would be dead. The goodness in humanity is always there. And in our practice, we direct it further. We deepen it even more to find out where it comes from and what it actually is, and how we can offer that to society. So I'm happy today, and congratulations everybody. Have a beautiful day, and it's not just the easy road for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but we can help them go forward. We're going to go forward. Okay? Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
네.